Hi, welcome back. My name is Srikanth. In today's session, we're going to look at Designer Scripting Part 2. It's a continuation to my previous session, Application Designer Scripting Part 1. In my previous session, we were looking at some of the basic scripting capabilities of Application Designer. In today's session, we're going to focus more on some of the advanced scripting capabilities of Application Designer. I'm going to access a PDF document to demonstrate these examples. First one I'm going to show you is a pop-up screen window that comes when I click on a button, and then I can provide the values to the dimension and say apply. Filters will be applied and the data will be changed accordingly. This is useful, especially when I don't want my initial layout of the application to be having these configurations as part of the design. I can have a pop-up window that can come up when I click on a button, and then after applying or canceling, this pop-up window can be canceled. Now I'm going to access my Analytics Cloud application. I'm in a new application window, right in Canvas page. I'm going to start working on creating objects inside it. I also prepared the JavaScript and a notepad file. I'm going to grab this whenever it is needed. I'll switch back to my Analytics Cloud application. So I'm going to start working on getting objects inside the Canvas page. The first object I'm going to get is a table, and getting into the Canvas page here. Just getting in here, and then I'll choose to switch to some other measure. So I'm going to choose order value instead of number of customer meetings. Just say okay. I will keep my country and also product as the dimensions in this chat. And so then I'm going to switch off the designer. So what I'm going to do, I'm also going to create a script variable to have a percentage change in the calculation. So I'll invoke it. I can write, just going to keep the name as it is and just scripting. I'll keep the same name as script variable. And then it's going to be type. I will use integer, and just default value, I'll keep it as 0 and say done. I got a scripting variable now. I can use it inside. It's a global scripting variable. I can use it inside the script. The next object I'm going to need is a button. So I'm going to click on this one and say button. I'll bring this to right there. So basically this button, I'm going to configure a pop-up screen. So when I click on this button, a pop-up screen will come up. So I'm going to configure this button, say, just go into the designer and then just say to this configure. And that's it. My designer can be off. And then I'm going to create a pop-up screen as well. So open this one and then say click new, a pop-up screen coming up here. And I'm going to put a text field for a dimension, and then just slightly here. And I also put a drop-down box as well. I'm going to name this dimension as country, and then leave it there. I can do the formatting just to make it a little readable. Just say all borders so that it can be seen there. And then I'm going to populate the values for this country dimension. And then I'll also include a slider for this one. So I can do a slider. Slider is going to be for percentage change. I'll keep the text box. All these configurations are inside my pop-up screen window, not in the main Canvas page. So I will give the name as percentage change for the slider. Okay. Then finally, I need two buttons. One is for apply and another one is for cancel. Just get the apply button. It's going to be there. Just keep it. And then I also get another button for cancel. Rename it. Just put the apply. And this one will be for cancel. Okay, my pop-up screen layout is done. And then I can go back to the main Canvas page and then start working on some of the objects that are needed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to need another column that is going to be used for the forecast by taking the input from the scripting variable value that comes from the pop-up screen window. So all I'm going to do is I'll go to table and then invoke the designer and then start creating a new measure here. So I'll say new add calculation. I'm going to choose a calculator measure and then give the name as forecast. And then I can grab my code from the screen. And here the variable name is not the same as this one. So I'm going to get the right variable name, the global scripted variable name that used for the script percentage value. I think that's going to be script variable 1. I'm going to use that same thing here. It's all good now. Say okay. Now I got a forecast. Initially, the default value is 0 for the percentage that is to be changed. That's why my R value and my forecast value are same. Now, what I'm going to do, I will configure the button 1 that is here. This is configure to invoke a pop-up screen. So I'm going to write an on-click event for the button 1. So just I can just click on this one and say an on-click. So I will write a simple code to open the pop-up. This is going to be very simple. Or you can actually write pop-up 1 and then control code completion. It's going to give you that, and then dot and then code completion. You're saying close. No, I wanted to open it. So open and then just click on that open. It's going to be, so with that on click event, it's going to open the pop-up screen. I'm going to save it. My name of the application is going to be, I'm going to create a new and then designer part 2 and say okay. I'm going to save this under that. This is for the pop-up screen. Then say okay. That's good. Now my on-click event for button 1 is completed, and I'm going to configure the code for the pop-up screen objects. Initially, I'm going to go to the drop-down box and then write the on-click event for the drop-down box. So basically, I wanted to get the country names or the values into this drop-down box. For that, I'm going to configure I'm going to get the values for the drop-down box. So instead of populating the values from the pop-up screen, I can do that from the initialization of the application. So I'm going to go to the Canvas page on initialization, and then I can put the script for the drop-down box values to come. So I'm going to do this. So basically here I'm getting the values of country dimension and then putting into the drop-down 1 object that's used in the pop-up screen. It's all good. My drop-down is also completed. Now, next one is to have the 2 buttons, OK or apply and cancel code to be applied. So I'm going to go to the button 2. That's going to be apply. So I'm going to choose function and then on click. and then write the code to apply the filter on the result set. So I'm going to use this one. So basically, I'm going to explain what it's going to do. So basically, I am taking the table one, that's my table result set, get the dimension filter value from country from drop-down list. So whatever I select in the drop-down one selection box, it is going to go apply to the table one data source. And that is going to be the first statement. And the second statement is I'm going to take the slider one value to the global script variable that is right there, script variable. And then an integer is expected, but you provided a number. This can result in unexpected behavior. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I will go to this one and then change this to number. So done. It's good now. I say okay. And then the last thing for the apply is that I've taken. And the last step in that execution is the pop-up window to be closed. And then I'm just going to copy this one and also I just put it for button 3, because button 3 is just going to, it's a cancel one. I'm just going to need the pop-up one close. So now I set the pop-up screen configuration also completed. Now the next thing is it's all done. Now let me try running this application and see the data output. So I'm going to get the data results here, and then I'm going to click on configure. I get the pop-up screen, so I can get the country selected, and then I provide the value to it, and then I can also choose the percentage change from 10 to 15% and say apply. So it's going to increase the value to 15% as the forecast value in the result set. And I can also do the cancel without doing anything, or even I make changes to it and then say cancel. Nothing is going to happen to the result set. So with that, we're not really making any change to the layout of the application. All the custom filtering, runtime filtering can be done in the pop-up screen that can come up during the runtime, and then it can be applied, and then it will go off from your screen. So that's how a pop-up screen can be coming as very useful to your design. In the next example I'm going to show you is to have an application with a timer function. So the timer function is very useful, especially when you're delaying something, or when you wanted to schedule something to come up periodically, like every 15 seconds, a column to be shown or to be hidden or something. You can use the timer function. So we're going to look at how this script configuration for timer function. I'm going to switch over to my Analytics Cloud application. I'll create a new application for this. Say come back and then say new application for the analytical application. So I'm going to choose application, and inside that I'll get into the canvas page, and it's going to still do the same model, but this time I'm going to use this chart. So in this chart I will be using one of the measures by default, but what I wanted to do, I wanted to display all the measures in 10 to 15 seconds delay. What I'm going to do, I'll keep the numeric pointer for this one, and then I'll just keep one measure for now for the numeric pointer. I'll say order value. It's not really very fancy thing I'm doing here, but just to tell you how this functionality is going to be used. Now I have my first object ready. I'm going to use another object, a button, to start or stop, to a button, and then this can be used for start and stop of the timer function. I'm going to grab this, and then in the designer, I'll just go to the start or stop for the timer. And then now I'm going to bring in the timer function, timer API. So I'm going to find this from the existing scripting thing. Here it is with a clock symbol. So I'm going to say plus. I'm going to name this as timer 1 and then say done. So my timer API is enabled. I'm going to keep some scripting behind the scene. So what I'm going to write here, I'm just going to grab this one and then explain what it is going to do. There are several lines here. I'm really doing is I'm getting the data source from the chart one and then get all the measures into this variable. And then I'm looping through this particular array and get the values populated into one at a time into the chart. And then I'm going to loop through this one for continuously as in for all the measures in the chart. So it is going to remove the previous one every time and then add the new one. So with that, so at a time, you're going to see one measure and then every timer sets for 5 seconds. So every 5 seconds, it is going to change the current measure to a different one or the next one. So we're going to look at that, how it is done. That's it. And then I also wanted to, I think that's all. Saving. So I'm going to give the name as timer. So more public, I will designer part 2 and then say timer and then say okay. This is saved. I will run my analytical application to test this. You can get this one, and every when the timer is working, and every few seconds, and this is going to change to a next measure in the list. Sorry, I forgot to put the timer code to kick off the start or stop. So I'm going to go back to my application and then go to the button and then say on click event. And then I'm going to just keep the script to invoke the timer function. So I can grab that from my system and then just going to get the say paste it. So basically, if it is already running, stop it. If it is not, then start it. And then it's going to be 5 seconds frequency. Save it and then run this application. Now my button has on script event. So I'm going to click on my start stop timer button. So when I click on that, it is going to invoke the timer. And then every 5 seconds, you see a different measure in the chart. It's going to go on this one. And if you wanted to stop this one, you can click on this one again. So this functionality will get stopped, and then you don't have to, you'll not see the timer running. That's about the second example exercise I wanted to show. And the third one I'm going to show you is about export functionality. So got export an application to a PDF for Excel or CSV. I can bring in all these 3 functionalities to my report. So what I'm going to do, I'll go to my analytics cloud and then invoke the previous application. It was just saved a few minutes ago. That is the pop-up screen. I'll go to the pop-up screen. What I will do, I'm going to invoke the PDF functionality, export to Excel functionality, and then include widgets. So I just need the table 1 to be there, and then say okay, and this is going to be exported to Excel, and say done. I also export my PDF functionality as well. So I wanted to keep this as a portrait, and then include widgets. I just don't need everything. I just needed the table to be displayed. I can include the header and also footer, but I don't really need them right now to show the scripting. You can configure the header and footer with more scripting, but we can do that some other example. So my APIs are enabled now, and then I can call them by bringing in a couple of buttons in here. So I'm going to choose button and then say here, and then I also add another one. That's going to be right there. So this is for I can use one for Excel, another one for PDF. So you can open the designer and say Excel, and then this one I can use it for PDF, and then say okay. So on the on-click event for this one, button 4, I can put this as Excel, export to Excel. What I'm going to do, I will be going to export to Excel object, export to just code completion. Code completion will give me the list, and then dot, and then say export report. These are the methods, and say okay, this is done. And then I can go back to the other button, which is in the canvas page of PDF. So I can click on the button 5 on click event, and I can write the export to PDF. Code completion, export a code completion, and then choose PDF1, and then say dot code completion, and then export report, and then say okay, code, and then end the code. So my on-click events for these two buttons is done. Go back to my report, save it, and run the application. So in my runtime, I can choose to do the export to Excel or PDF. Click on Excel, and Excel download is happen, and click on PDF, a PDF download also happen. You can open this in the folder and then show that there. You can see the PDF is properly aligned, and you can use it as an attachment to send it to some other team members. So this and that's all planned for this session. And the next session, which is part 3, so we're going to look at the dynamic R visualizations and also some of the OData calls in the application. Thank you very much. Bye.